All right. Make sure that is good. All right. Much better. All right. One of the things that I want to really focus on today is about scholarship programs for, U.S. or I would say U.S. citizens and also people with legal rights to live and work in the U.S. I think that is very important. Hey, Bloodlust, good to see you. Adewale, good to see you as well. Ilobi, good to see you. Thanks for joining. I don't know if this would really apply to a lot of people from different parts of the world. I have to be upfront with that. The scholarship programs that are currently open are for people within the states. Limitless Aviation, thank you as well. Thanks for joining. Adane, I hope Adane. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but thanks for joining. And nice to meet you as well. But one of the things I always say is, I do these lives really to engage with the community and also to answer your questions that you may have. It may not really apply to what I'm talking about today, but the main focus of this whole live is really to talk about this scholarship programs that are currently available or will become available to people that are in the States. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to drop in the chat section. I will try to respond to the question as I go on with this. So if I may ask, all right, for those of you that are currently on, if you just drop your country in the chat section, I would appreciate that. Just so I can see where people are from. I'm guessing everybody's all over the place because I know everybody on my channel, have a mix of everybody, and that can sometimes create a problem in finding valuable information to each group of people within the community. But again, I do appreciate you guys coming on. I see UK, of course. I believe that's my biggest community on this channel for sure. Nigeria for sure. Ethiopia, awesome. That's great. I was actually looking up some information on Ethiopian Airlines as well not too long ago. So thanks for joining though. I see Nigeria again. Awesome. This particular program will really apply to people within the US, unfortunately. And I just have to say that because I feel like, all these scholarship programs, they do limit the number of applicants that can actually apply. And they limit them to people within the state or country where these scholarship programs are offered. So it makes it hard for me to find programs that apply to people from different parts of the world, especially Africa, all the countries out there. It can be really difficult. So, but again, I'm willing to answer your questions if you have them. Let's see, quick question. I'm 16. Should I join the BA Speedbird Z when I'm older, or do do flight school and then join, which is better? For that, I believe it's really up to you. I would say that, do the one that gives you the most opportunity. Speedbird Z, I think, it's a game of, if you get selected, you know what I mean? And also with the flight school, you are really you're committing your fate into your own hands. So if you are looking for something that gives you more certainty, right, of course, do the flight school. But if you're trying to just, take the opportunity to see if you get selected with the Speedbird, program, then of course you can always go with that. There's no harm in trying. That's really the thing here. There's no harm in trying. Now, I know most of you have subscribed to my channel for, pilot related, scholarship programs, maybe a lot of the Speedbird program tips on how to get through or how to apply and, how to prepare, all that stuff. But for today, like I said, this is really focused on the scholarship program. So let me just get right into it without wasting time. One of the things I always ask is don't forget to drop a like on the channel, on the video. And if you find value in it, please feel free to share with someone else as well that may benefit from it. The first one that I'd like to really cover right here, just so that I don't waste much time and I can get back to answering your questions, is the Women in Aviation International Organization. They do offer scholarships, and mind you, you don't have to be a woman to apply to the scholarships. But one of the criteria that they need, or that they state, is that you have to be a member. Now the membership fees, I honestly don't know how much it costs, but if you're looking for these opportunities, if you want to be in the right environment and get the right mentorship, get the right resources to make your aviation dream come true, and you are in the United States, actually this doesn't, you don't have to be in the United States for this one. You don't have to be in the United States for this particular one, but some of the requirements, like here, if you go to the PDF, some of them do require that you have the let's see, actually it says here you must be a member of the, you must be a WAI member by October 1st, 2024. And I believe there's something else as well. But this doesn't require you to be a US citizen, by the way. This doesn't require that. But you just have to be a member of the organization. And it offers different programs. Let me just show you the ones that they offer here. So for example, if you're looking to advance your ratings, all right, maybe it's instruments, commercial, CFI, whatever, they do offer these scholarships that you can apply for. These programs do open up in November, so if you are looking to apply to any of these programs, then you should definitely be preparing for them by getting all your documents ready and all the things that you need, especially your CV or resume. Those are the big ones that you need to get started with. And of course, know the people that you will need to contact for your letter of recommendation. That's also a big part as well. So keep that in mind. But of course, this is another one as well. They offer aerospace or engineering scholarships. So if you're into an aerospace, maybe you're doing a degree in the aerospace industry, or in a college. For example, it says, this is from Delta Airlines, will award a $5,000 scholarship to a student currently enrolled in a baccalaureate degree in aerospace, aeronautical, electrical, or mechanical engineering. So as long as you have, you meet these requirements, they all state, and by the way, you can apply to up to 3 scholarships. All right. This is another one that focuses on aviation maintenance. All right. Scholarships. Then there's another one that focuses on aviation manufacturing scholarships. All right, this is from Boeing. Let's see, flight. All right, so if you're in training, this is one that offers that as well. So, but again, you can apply to up to 3, and actually there's some instructions. I'm not going to go over all of that on how to, actually I think it's here. Let me scroll to the bottom here. This is for private pilots as well, and if you go to the apply page, it gives you all the instructions that you need. Okay. And, like I said, I'm not going to be covering that. This is something that you just have to do yourself. But I talk about these things because these are the opportunities that are there for those that meet the requirements. Because if you do not meet the requirements, then, it's just a waste of time. The first thing is always to meet the requirements. And one of the things that I always say is, if you are looking for these programs or these opportunities, you need to always start with where you live or the school you are currently attending. So if you're in college, maybe look into the programs that are offered through your college, the organizations you're part of. So another one is, if you're part of these professional organizations, you should always look into the opportunities they provide as well. Because those will generally give you the best chances of getting selected. So then the next thing I would say is, the country or the area you live. Now, there's some government funded programs that will support people that live in those areas. So that's another one to look into. And then of course the country, then the region. So you kind of broaden your scope of search as you look for these opportunities. Unfortunately, I always say this, we have, a big lack of opportunities, especially sponsored programs in Africa, and that is all because we have we most of these organizations that support or that fund the scholarships are usually the airlines, right? Then you have the government. Okay, so for example, if you're looking into aviation, like pilot training scholarships, usually these are funded through the airlines in those regions. And I mean, I grew up in Nigeria, and most of the airlines out there, unfortunately, do not provide programs that sponsor applicant or pilots, you know. Other countries like South Africa, Kenya, Ethiopia is another one that do offer this, but just you never know when. All right, South African Airways, Ethiopian Airlines, Kenya Airways, those three would generally offer some career programs, but again, it's off to the citizens. All right. So I see your question here is for, let's say, coming from a country with a weak passport and wish to apply for a career program outside. Does it hinder or he or she a chance? Depending on where. Let me see. So it says my question is. If generally speaking, that is the answer is yes. Ilobi Neme, all right. The answer is yes, and that is because most of these programs only they don't want to sponsor your immigration part of it. They only focus on people that already have the ability to reside and train in those regions. So they won't want to sponsor anyone with a foreign passport or with all the immigration stuff. It gets complicated, especially when it comes to immigration. And that's why they only focus on people with the ability to do the job already so that they don't have to deal with immigration. Now, some people do have the ability to maybe acquire a second passport or be the dual citizen. Those are options that, you may consider. I'm not an immigration expert, of course, but these are things that you may need to consider based on what is available to you. But one thing I know is, a place like Nigeria, especially, we do have a lot of people that are interested in aviation. And there's this lack of fund, all right, because one, we don't have the banks that will fund your training, and the ability to access loan is difficult. Then you don't also then have the lack of sponsored programs in those regions as well. So that's generally a problem. The next Speedbird program is generally speaking, it's next year, somewhere early, anywhere between January and April, I believe, next year. Is when they would open it up again for the Speedbird program. All right. But I always say that, in all of these programs, you have to start preparing now. All right. Especially if you qualify already. If you know that you meet the requirements, you can always go to the Speedbird program page to look into those requirements. Make sure you qualify so that you don't waste your time. If you do not qualify, there's no point trying because you'll be automatically disqualified. So make sure that you meet the requirements before you even start trying. The next program here that I actually did I come up right? Okay. Let me move this away. All right. The next program here is the OBAP scholarship. All right. This is the Organization of Black Aerospace Pilots. It's not coming up right on your screen. I'm trying to fix that here. Not that one. Okay, I think that's better. This one will open up in. This one is open already. All right, but I believe it closes. Let's see. Closes sometime. When does this one close? I don't know when this one closes, but I know it closes soon anyway. But these are all the programs or the scholarship programs that are available, right? And they award up to 4750. This is from Dreams to Careers. This is Lift Academy, Lieutenant Colonel Luke Weathers Flight Academy. Now, this one also requires a member for you to apply, all right? But these programs are there for those that qualify, because they can often at least, make your training a bit cheaper. When I went through training, I remember my flight school offered a bit of some scholarship funds, which helped, that was well after my CFI. So, depending on your school may offer those scholarship programs as well. And if you're in good standing and you behave well, yeah, they may offer you those opportunities as well. The biggest challenge that we always face as international students is sometimes just meeting the requirements. So if you already have, if you're a permanent resident, a citizen of the place, then you have no reason as to why you shouldn't be applying to these programs. The other one thing I want to mention to you is when it comes to applying for the programs, they will generally have, the membership requirements, like I mentioned already, all right? And sometimes there may be some age requirement. They might have the citizenship requirement, right? Educational requirements, another one, and membership requirements. I think I already covered that already. So my suggestion to people that are planning to apply to this program is, one, first of all, work on your CV. All right, make sure you have your CV in good shape. Make sure it's up to date. All right, make sure it has all the relevant information that would help in granting, at least increasing your chances of getting selected, because you have to show that you have the relevant skills or knowledge or expertise that is applicable for the scholarship program you're applying to. The other thing also is they generally would ask you about your aviation goals. All right, so if you are somebody if you're aspiring to become a pilot, then you should definitely be looking into getting a write-up that talks about your aviation goals, right? Now, this write-up is something that you can always tailor to each scholarship program, depending on, what the scholarship actually calls for. But if you have your aviation goals down, you already know what your goals are, whether your goal is to get a bachelor's degree, then move on to fly in the aviation industry, even if you have a desired airplane, those are goals that you can set for yourself. And your long-term goals, maybe your goal is to work and continue working in the aviation industry until you retire. If your goal is to become a check airman at an airline, if your goal is to become a captain, those are all things that you can put together in a document, in a Word document, for example, and you can always change this on the go. One of the problems that a lot of people face when it comes to scholarships is that when you have a lot of information that you need to put down, it can be overwhelming. But when you take the time to do it over, let's say, for example, most of these programs I'm talking about will open up in November. Some are already open, but most of them will start coming open by the end of into October, November, And if you already have that head start in preparing for these opportunities, you are likely to do a better job, right? Because you're not having to rush through the process. You're not having to feel overwhelmed, and you're able to put your thoughts on paper, or at least on the document, so that you are well articulate, in the whole thing, all right? And then the other thing also is, generally speaking, you'd have to write an essay as well. And the essay would generally be around, maybe challenges facing aviation industry. Maybe it's the current, depending on the region, right? They may ask you to write an essay on maybe your own challenge that you have experienced that is preventing you from achieving your aviation goals. So it all depends. Now, the thing about this is, you have to have this aviation knowledge, right? The aviation industry knowledge, and just to show that you know something about the aviation world or the aviation industry, That is very important. So the more conversant you are with the news, the developments, the changes that are going on, whether especially in your environment, the better you are likely to write, right? Because you have a lot of talking points. And also, if they include interviews in this whole process, you're likely to also do better because you have the industry knowledge, so that would really help you a lot. The other thing also is, they might always ask you for your transcripts. So always think about that as well, whether it's from high school, whether it's from college, you might have to get that ready. Another big part is always your letter of recommendation. Letter of recommendation is always so big because, they want to see that you have the backing of good people. I mean, whether it's your instructor, whether it's a faculty member, whether it's a professor from your school, all of that does help. So, keep that in mind as you apply for, as you go through the process. I'm kind of distracted. I'm looking at my feed here and I feel like it's delayed. So I'm wondering, why is that? Okay. I think it's not delayed. I think it's just me. All right. So again, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop in the chat section. I would appreciate just, that's how I get to interact with you guys, get to answer your questions. So feel free to leave me a question in the chat section. Why is this thing not coming up as I expect to? Great. All right. Let's see. The other program that I wanted to cover, if I go back to this one, I think I already talked about that one, is this one from NBAA as well. This one is more, again, like I said, most of this would apply to people in the US, to be honest. But they have upcoming scholarships as well. And this one would apply to people that are for schedulers or that are trying to be schedulers and dispatchers, maintenance technicians as well, or aviation maintenance technicians. This would apply to them. So depending on what your goals are, these are opportunities that you can get started with in the aviation industry. All right. You don't always have to start with, because I know that everybody wants to become pilots, and sometimes getting close to it is what creates the opportunity. And what I mean by that is, if you can get the get the aviation industry knowledge. So in this case, say you started with being a dispatcher. There's so many people that start with that route and then they eventually transition to becoming pilots. Or maybe they started with a cabin crew. They started as a cabin crew and then eventually they transition to becoming pilots. Those are all avenues that you can get into the aviation world and then eventually kind of find your way as you go along. That's something that people do. Again, if you have questions, feel free to drop in the question in the chat section. I would appreciate, I'll be able to answer your questions. I'm willing to do that. Are these US scholarships open for British citizens as well? No, unfortunately. Well, most of them aren't. All right, some of them are, and that's why I said you just have to really look into the fine print. Yusuf, I saw you. I'm looking at your comments. All right, you have to look into the fine. Actually, I'm looking. Sorry, I think I have the wrong thing up here. Yeah, so you have to look into the fine print to know if you can apply. Now, remember that the citizenship requirement, most of these programs do apply to US citizens. That's the bottom line of it. But for example, the Women in Aviation Scholarship actually is an international organization. And if you qualify for that, you don't have to be a woman, by the way. All right. But sometimes you may be able to apply depending on where you're from. Again, look into the fine print. Most of these things are not open just yet. They're coming open in November. So But again, that's what this channel is all about. I talk about scholarship programs. I talk about, cadet programs. These are ways that you can become pilots, right? And those are things that I try to bring to the channel so that people can benefit from it, and hopefully they can get to achieve their goals. Let's see. Now, when these scholarship programs actually do open up, most of the time I will end up, depending on the complexity of it, I sometimes will make a video, maybe trying to just break it down, make it easy for people to understand, make it easier for people to maybe apply, right? So that they increase their chances of success. So that's something I would often do, depending on, again, the scholarship, how available it is to people, and also the people in the community. That goes a long way. That's really what I wanted to cover on this live. It's going to be short, and that's because, I thought about making a video initially, but I was like, you know what, let me just make a live, see if people are available. Because usually I don't try to schedule these lives. It's all based on my time, my availability, and I just wanted to really, I use it to also interact with people as well that are online at the time. But if you have found value in this one, please don't forget to drop a like on the video. Of course, I didn't want to make it too long. I've already covered what I wanted to cover. If you have questions, leave in the comment section as well below. I would definitely respond to them when I am able. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next time.